Welcome to Canada's podcast, the number one podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Hello and welcome to Calgary's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mario Tonaguzzi. Joining me today is Rob Townsend, who is the founder and CEO of Camber, a fintech and wealth management company in Calgary. Thanks for joining us today, Rob.
Mario, thank you for having me.
Okay, let's start off by just asking you, what is Camber? What do you guys do?
Camber is an independent financial advisor, and we really have the goal of helping people lower their fees when it comes to investment management, increase the probability of their investment strategies, and help them make data-driven decisions with their life savings.
Okay, when did you guys start?
We launched our firm in March 2019.
Oh, okay, then. And can you give me a little bit of the background of, why you decided to launch this company?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sitting in our boardroom, which is kind of paints a picture of why this firm exists. And our boardroom, which you can't see too much right now, but it really looks much more like a living room. And we did that purposely. Because at the other firms that I've been at, our client meeting rooms were always very traditional, big oak boardrooms, and kind of an intimidating feel. And I don't think that was done on purpose, but I think it just shows that the industry really hasn't thought that much about the client experience. And when you're meeting with people as a financial advisor, you're talking to them about their fears and their dreams and what do they want to do with their life and how much do you want to leave to your children, and these are big questions, and they need to be in an environment where it invokes that kind of ability to have those conversations, to be vulnerable. And also, I think as financial advisors, we're all guilty of talking very jargon heavy. Yeah. And people need to be able to put up their hand and say, I don't understand. And I think in a room like this invokes and invites those conversations more naturally. And it's just kind of a lens of showing kind of how we think about this business and how we're trying to be a little bit different, and really do that by thinking about what is the client feeling, going through, and can we enhance that experience?
Now, I'm curious about the name. Where does that come from? What does it mean?
So Camber it's a mathematical angle that's used in automotive design, sailboats, skis and snowboards, and it increases performance and efficiency. And I think when it comes to automotive design, it's specifically interesting. The camber is the tilt of the wheels. And that used to be done by a touch and feel of a real car person, their intuitive touch. Well, what they found is with computers, they can dial that into a much greater degree and really increase that vehicle's efficiency and performance. So that is a lot of analogies to our story, which is what we're trying to do. A lot of the investment industry is about intuition and gut and feel. And we're saying, in an age of data, when it comes to your life savings, maybe we should be, harnessing the power of data and bringing what's being used in the biggest, most successful companies in the world and bringing that to your own personal financial situation, and hopefully applying that Camber angle, which again is increasing the efficiency and performance of the overall portfolios and the investment strategy that we put in place for clients.
Okay, since the inception, how have you found business? Obviously, 1 year. You started 1 year before everything went crazy in the world. So how has that business been in that year time for you?
Yeah, definitely none of the tailwinds that we were hoping for from a macro perspective have shown up, but that's okay. It only makes you stronger. And I feel like every business owner that you talk to, when they talk about their launch, that first year always goes terribly. And I feel like everything that could have gone wrong for us did. But at the end of the day, we just had a commitment that this is our life's work. This is what we want to do. And you can kind of sulk and give up and go back, or you can just make it happen. And we've been able to make it happen. Our clients have been unbelievable, and we've been gaining a lot of traction within the market as people still like an entrepreneurial story in Calgary. And so that spirit has been able to, get us through what is a very challenging time within, downtown Calgary and now the world with COVID.
Now, as you talk to your clients out there, like, what's the sense of the mood that you get from people when it comes to their present finances and and more importantly, what they're thinking about for the future.
Well, it's really it's an age of change, and I think in a lot of ways, COVID has provided this great reset for people to think about what's really important. Maybe I can work a little bit more from home. They always said it wasn't possible, but maybe it is. What does that look like? I actually don't like my job. I actually don't want to do this. I don't, like this house, whatever. It seems to be conjuring up a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And that is kind of where we can provide the most value in a lot of ways, because we provide these interactive dashboards that allow people to model out their decisions and see them within a full context of their financial life, and really put some data behind those big questions, play it out, and let's see, and maybe we can make a change. And we're finding a lot of people are looking to make a change at this time in the city.
Are you, when you get chatting with these people, are you getting the sense that they're increasingly more worried about where they're going to be in 5, 10, 15, whatever years from now?
Very much so. I mean, there's different pockets within our client base and the people that we help and build these financial dashboards for. But you definitely do see, the full range of the spectrum. We have quite a few clients that are, 35 to 45, starting businesses and having tremendous success even within this environment.
Yeah.
And able to take advantage of the tremendous amount of high quality talent that's floating around right now, taking advantage of the fact that, people are still willing to back entrepreneurs in this city, and, rent is low for office space. So all of those things do help kind of make these businesses go around. We have seen some big successes there. For some traditional oil and gas clients, definitely starting to see some behavioral changes. The old oil and gas, or the old Calgary portfolio, was diversified by having oil and gas in the portfolio, and now people are starting to see the merits of having a bit more of a disciplined and diversified strategy.
What's your vision for the company, Rob?
I really view Camber as a health tech company in a lot of ways. We could be grouped into a fintech company or just a traditional wealth management company, but the health tech is what really excites me. And I think that, these companies like Strava and Fitbit and Apple Watch and Whoop are tremendously interesting because they've gamified these kind of simple behaviors to good health. I mean, if you think about a Whoop wristband, it's helping you, eat properly, don't overeat, don't drink too much, get 8 hours of sleep every night, and do a bit of exercise. I mean, it's a very simple recipe to good long-term health. But the only way to get that result is by compounding that behavior day after day after day. And they've broken up this big goal of being healthy into these little tiny manageable bites, and then use kind of video game gamification elements in order to reward the person to feel good about it, to stay on track, and allow that compounding behavior to take place. And so we're totally inspired by that, because we think the simple recipe to financial health is kind of, keep your costs low, don't do anything too complicated, stay diversified, stay in the market, stay away from things that can hurt you. But you need to find a way to make those boring themes interesting and fun so that people stick to it. And so we would really like to see ourselves, take some of that and implement that into the work that we do and helping Canadian investors.
Okay. Are you from Calgary?
Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Oh, wow. Rider fan. All right. So what made you start a business in Calgary, and why Calgary?
Calgary for me was always on the radar because I had an uncle who's a mentor of mine, and whenever I was around my Uncle Rob, great things were happening, and I just wanted a piece of that energy. He's one of these magical people in the world. And so I asked him, getting out of going into university, what should I do? What should my path be? And he put me on the path to get into the investment business and to come to Calgary and help me along the way. So it was really a no-brainer for me to come to Calgary in 2008, and I've loved it ever since.
What do you think the advantages are of having a business or starting up a business in this city?
Again, it's really that entrepreneurial spirit. In the Calgary think the city of Calgary put out an article about this old Lindsay Manor, Dead Man's Castle, it's called, in Elbow Park. And it's this, it was this beautiful house that was supposed to be. And it was in 1913, a physician who made a very successful, physician practice, then went into the gold rush, made a bunch of money, then became a speculator, made a ton of money, was going to build this big, beautiful house overlooking the Elbow River. And of course, because of concentration and leverage, he got the timing wrong, and he gave back all the mass fortune that he made, and it never got built past these two big kind of gaunt statues that were the entrance of the house. And so, I mean, Calgary still has, that's 1913. That same mentality is here today, concentration and leverage. When I came to Calgary in 2008, concentration and leverage was working so well for people, and they had amassed these huge fortunes. In 2009, it started going against them. Today, it's going against them again, but they still have that mentality and that energy and that optimism to start a business, be successful, getting help, and being able to do it at a young age. I mean, there's no other city in Canada that provides that.
Yeah, exactly. What do you like about being an entrepreneur? What are some of the key things that keep you going?
Working more and making less.
Exactly, right.
It building something is very, very special. I had a great career at my last firm. They treated me very well, and I was kind of set, but that doesn't bring a lot of fulfillment. It's the kind of journey and trying to challenge things and make a difference and build out the things that you're really passionate about. And getting out on your own where you're not put into a box is an amazing feeling. And I think amazing things can be built by doing that. And we're in an age of innovation, and we're in an age when you can start these companies for much cheaper than ever before. And so when you have an opportunity to be able to work for yourself and build something that you're truly authentically passionate about, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, along your journey in professional life, is there anybody or any place or thing that you can recall where you received the best piece of advice for being an entrepreneur?
I don't know if this is good advice, but it's something that I live by and like. But I still like the art of the handshake deal. I try not to paper things up too much, and definitely that's gone against me in the past. But I think having that view of the world, that people are going to treat you fairly, and that if it doesn't work out, you can come to a reasonable conclusion, is just a nicer way to live.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of advice around there about getting everything perfect and figuring out all these out clauses and papering it up. And I just almost think that's setting yourself up for failure. So not to recommend this to other entrepreneurs to go at this style, but I kind of like the cowboy style of a handshake deal, trying to figure it out, because there's so many unknowns when you're starting a business. Which direction is it going to go, and who's going to be valuable, and who's not, and who's going to come for the ride, and who's not. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how you can kind of paper it up perfectly, and I rather just view the world as a place where you can trust people and where everything will work out. And for the most part, I think that's true.
So do you think there's a special some special qualities or personality that lead to success on the entrepreneurial side of things? Like, what do you need to be an entrepreneur?
I think it's all shapes and sizes from what I can see. At Camber, we're very fortunate to work with a lot of entrepreneurs as clients, and we really see the full gambit. But it is an optimistic lens of the world, and an ability to see the positives and not just the negatives, as well as just being able to get things done. I think when you run these businesses, you just have to not be afraid to be the IT guy one day and the janitor the next day and the lawyer the next day. You kind of got to do it all.
Yeah. Now, you alluded to the amount of time it takes, and any entrepreneur will tell you that, right? You put your heart and soul into your business, and that usually takes time, and a lot of it during the day. How do you strike a balance, I guess, in terms of work and life by being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure I'm going to have a very good answer for you. I think it's an interesting time when I look at younger entrepreneurs, and I just have the most experience, I guess, with them. There's just such less of a divide between the personal and the business. A lot of my clients are close friends of mine. A lot of the work that I do is, totally aligned with my own personal interests. So to split those two apart is quite hard to see. In these first, we're only kind of 20 months old. There isn't a lot of time for anything else. My wife and I had a baby in March, and so that is my recharge and where I put all my extra energy coming home from the office. But there isn't too much extra time outside of that these days.
Yeah. What kind of interests do you have outside of work?
Well, I'm a big reader. Again, kind of student of the industry, but I think there's a lot to be learned about the industry through looking at other fields, history, even fiction. So I do like to read, and then the best way to kind of recharge for me is getting a bit of exercise. So love to be in the gym, love to play tennis, love to go skiing.
Okay, super. Now, I just wanted to come back to the financial stuff for a second. One of the things that I noticed recently was the fact that there's a report on the financial literacy of people out there, and it was quite low. Do you think that people need, and especially now, even more so than at any other time, to really have a handle and understanding about finances and money in these times?
Definitely. I mean, the other part of that report is that the confidence around their financial knowledge ranks quite high. 80% of people think they're good drivers. Well, mathematically, that's impossible. So it's the same thing with finance. And it can be very, very costly to be overconfident and with a misunderstanding of how markets work. And I do think that's a real problem. I know you were, a sports writer for many years. And, the baseball player that I think draws the most parallels to Camber is Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters of all time. He had a batting average of, 400. That means 60% of the time he didn't hit the ball.
Exactly.
And so, as a person who doesn't know baseball, you could go and see Ted Williams, the greatest hitter of all time. You could see him, play a full game and never touch the ball. So, and that then would lead to information to that person that maybe Ted Williams, he's not the guy I thought he was.
Yeah.
Investing is so much like that. The best investment behaviors that we can prove over, 120 years of data only work 60% of the time on a 1-year rolling basis. So investing can feel wrong a lot, even though you're making the best decisions at the time that you made that decision, because the future is uncertain and there's so much randomness and complexity within what plays out in financial markets and investment decisions. Yeah. And that leads to just a lot of false positives and a lot of false negatives around investing. People have this, sample size of 1. It happened to me. And they don't see that that's not a very probabilistic way to view markets and investing. And so training that is very, very difficult, but very, very important in an age where, people used to have pensions and that money was professionally managed. Well, now you don't get a pension. You're given the money and you're told, well, go figure it out on your own while raising a family, while, trying to, do your job well, while trying to strike off a few hobbies and, stay personally healthy. You just can't do it all. And so we really need to raise the financial literacy in Canada, but not totally put the onus just on the individual to stack another thing on their plate, when this is a very, very complex subject in order to understand and operate efficiently.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, super, Rob. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, that has been Rob Townsend, who is founder and CEO of Camber, a fintech and wealth management company in Calgary. This has been Calgary's podcast on Canada's podcast network. I'm your host, Mario Toneguzzi. Thanks for joining us today.